Hello, hello, everybody. And today we are streaming with a great topic, fueling your desires, a journey into the energy and manifestation. And today I have our guest, Jeff Yukikazu, and he's going to be telling a little bit what he does and how he can help people. And we dive into the topic of energy.
Thank you so much for having me, Arena. I'm excited to be here.
So tell a little bit more what exactly you are doing and how you can help people. So this way, I'm also going to learn more about what you're doing.
Yeah, so I am a self-development sensei and a Reiki practitioner. And what I do is I support people with taking a look introspectively at themselves to see, how am I self-sabotaging? How am I getting in the way of anything that I want to achieve, whether it's in my relationships, whether it's in my goals with business, health, fitness, all of the things that we actually do control ourselves, and taking a look at what can I do and shift, and what am I avoiding so that I can move closer to my goal. Most of the time we get in our own way and we self-sabotage ourselves from achieving the thing that we're trying to move towards. The fear comes in, the defense mechanisms flare up, and then we actually end up moving ourselves in the opposite direction. Most of the time it's subconscious and we're not aware of that, but the moments that we're able to really recognize that, we then can make that shift to say, hey, I'm actually in control of this and I can do something different. So I support people with kind of taking a look at what are you avoiding? What is the thing that you're afraid of, and why is that the case? Where did that originate? Where did that kind of that subconscious fear or that defense mechanism start from? And is that something that's outdated now, or is it still serving you? Majority of the time it stems from our childhood and the relationship we had with our parents. And so taking a look at, the various aspects or the circumstances that led to that. For me, myself, I've also learned and kind of understood the cultural aspect that's taken effect there, where growing up as a Japanese American, there was aspects of myself that originated from the things I learned from my parents and the culture, generational trauma. And so a lot of that kind of plays into how I operate today. So supporting other people with that same understanding of, how were you raised? What was the situation like at home? What were kind of the lessons that you took from that and learned and integrated into your life? And how is that still in play today? And is that supporting you, or is it holding you back? The other aspect of Reiki is something I integrate to, where I do a lot of meditation, and I support my clients with that as well. And what I've started to do is, at the end of our sessions, they'll meditate. And previously I would meditate with them. Now I'm starting to integrate. I'll do a little bit of my own meditation paired with Reiki being sent to them virtually through our call.
That's so beautiful. Thanks for sharing. So let me ask you, let me be the voice of the audience, right? Let me ask you, a lot of people are going about the life and they say, nothing is really an issue for me. I have my family, I have my career or the business, whatever they are in. And they say everything looks normal. Like, why would I feel that something self-sabotaging me? What are the areas that would really speak up as to say, what are the red flags that they have to look at to figure out that something is self-sabotaging them?
Well, first off, that mindset itself is self-sabotage, because then you're stunting your own growth. You're saying, hey, I'm perfect. Nothing needs to change. And that's complacency, right? So there's always more. There's always areas that we can grow and improve in. And by operating in the mindset that there's nothing wrong, kind of like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? That's true to some degree, but also there's always something, right? There's always an area we can improve in. There's always our strengths and our weaknesses. And most of the time we want to stay in our strengths and we avoid our weaknesses. And in doing so, again, self-sabotaging our growth and our progression.
That's beautifully said, because I also teach people that, as long as we are breathing, we are growing, right? We either growing or dying. If we are staying where we are stagnating our, evolution. So nothing is happening. And sometimes people like leave this life. It has no taste to it. It's like so stale because everything is the same. You don't see them like really happy or fulfilled. And I think it's one of the most important reasons why people want to grow, why people want to look at their lives and realize what is there that I would like to improve or to change in order to live a better life.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
So, yes.
no, go ahead.
So tell a little bit more about Reiki, because there are a lot of people who are not familiar what this is all about and how it could actually help them.
Okay. The way I like to describe Reiki is if you've ever stood in like a cement parking garage and there's just concrete all around you, there's a sensation or a lack of sensation. It's just kind of this cold feeling. Versus if you were to compare that to standing in the forest, you can feel the energy of the trees, nature, birds, animals, insects, right? And so what Reiki does is it takes that life force energy, and as a Reiki practitioner, what I do is I channel that and I bring that into myself, and then I transfer that into an individual. And then that individual's body will take that energy and disperse it where they need it. So it could be to a specific physical ailment, it could be to an emotional trauma or something that's being held onto within them. It could be to a stuck chakra point. The energy knows where it needs to go, and it's supportive if the person is conscious of that as well. Now, there's Reiki itself is the Japanese modality of using that energy, and there's other modalities where we're all kind of talking about the same thing, right? So in India, I believe it's prana. In China, it's like qi or qigong. And so we're all using the same kind of energy, but there's different modalities in how to practice it. The Japanese modality and the one that I've been training in is really you can do no harm with it. There's not like negative repercussions or side effects from performing Reiki on someone. It's all coming from a place of positivity, love, and healing. It is, again, the channeling of life force energy to support someone with something. The way that I describe it, I break it down into those three categories of right physical ailments, emotional things, or energetic blockages. Whereas in Japan, the thinking and mentality around it is that's all one. That's all part of the same thing. Whereas kind of in Western society, we break these into separate parts, right? So like mind, body, spirit, we look at that as independent things, when in actuality, it's all encompassed in an individual. Yeah, so that's a quick
That's
breakdown of
so beautiful. Yeah, thank you. I'm learning as well because I'm a manifestation coach, and obviously I work. I know it's all about the energy, but it's just like you mentioned, different modalities, different ways to approach it, and it's always interesting, right? Because we always want to stay open to different ways and to see how people are helping other people, right? Because we are all here together. And the point is that a lot of people don't even realize that everything starts from the energy. Before anything materializes in physical world, we are all creating everything energetically. And a lot of people go about the life with unconscious level of creation, right? They look at their results and then they're not happy and they say, why is this happening to me? Why don't I have the relationship I desire? Or why I'm stuck with my job and I'm not producing as much financial freedom as I would like? And nobody ever ponder upon the question that actually everything starts from the energy. Everything starts from your thinking and the words you're speaking and the energy you're directing.
Yeah. Positive mindset is key for that, right? You have to have the right energy. If you have negative mindset, negative energy, then that's what you're going to create more of, right? So if you're operating from scarcity and fear, you're going to be looking for those things and you're going to create more of the same. So being conscious of our energy, our mindset, it's very important for especially the things that we're manifesting.
Correct. And can you just share some of your clients' success stories so people have more understanding how this all plays out?
Yeah, let's see. Okay, I had one client who in Japan, I went on a trip to Japan expecting to come across a lot of information around Reiki, and that, people just walking around would know what it is and how to perform and all these things. What I found was that it was actually something that most people aren't aware of. And I was actually educating people in Japan about Reiki. I met with a Reiki master in Japan, and she taught me that before World War II, everybody in the Japanese Navy was trained in the art of Reiki. It was a practice that they all performed and were able to conduct on each other. And after World War II, when the US occupied Japan, they made the practice illegal. They recognized the power of it. And so it went underground. It wasn't something that was regularly taught anymore. It was something that people had to keep to themselves. They were only performing it on themselves, their friends, and their family in very intimate settings. And so it became a lost art. Now, one of the people that I connected to in Japan, she had a lot of curiosity around it. She was like interested in dabbling with the kind of the energy that existed there. She's like, yeah, I've always kind of felt something, but it wasn't quite sure. So I performed a Reiki session on her, and she was like, oh wow, that was very interesting. And I could tell, I could sense that there was something, I guess, unique or special about her. And she also had the desire to learn more. She was reaching like newer levels of consciousness, and so what we stepped into was kind of a. And again, this I want to be careful on. This is not something I was trained in, but something I was just called to kind of touch on and do. But essentially, was like a third eye opening. So I supported her with a Reiki session, and we went to an area that was like of significant importance to her, where she just felt really energetically connected. So it was a very outdoor location in kind of a park with a lot of flowers and beautiful scenery. We could actually see Mount Fuji in the distance. And so when we were there, we did kind of, I focused a lot of energy onto her third eye. And the intention was really to just kind of expand that area for her. And it was a trip because we were doing that, and then as we were like finishing, there was an earthquake. And we were like,
Ooh.
was that us? Was that the energy coming through? Like, what just happened? And it was super interesting because following that and after that point, she started to recognize a lot of the similar patterns that I had when I had a spiritual awakening. And my third eye essentially was open as well. Synchronicities, so seeing angel numbers everywhere, repeating patterns, right? Being able to think of someone and then the next day see them, or they call, things of that nature, where it was all kind of congruent with the opening of the third eye. And then when we work together in a coaching capacity, she had a desire to open and start her own business. She wanted to actually practice and learn Reiki, so I connected her to that same Reiki master, and she became a student graduating from her program. And so there was a lot of things that she was able to really kind of get in touch with and tap into energetically from that experience. So that's one example.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing. And I'm sure a lot of listeners are going to be like, what is third eye? What is chakra? What is this and what is that? And it's all about like worthy of exploration, right? Because this is not something that we hear all the time. And it's not something that's posted on the news, right? And it's great to raise our awareness and understand how everything works in life. So the idea is to make people life much easier and enjoy it with happiness and joy, and effortlessly actually attract any desires to ourselves, because that's exactly what we are doing here, right? That's exactly what our mission, our purpose in life, just to awake people to who they are, right? It's not just our physical body, it's not who we are with our identity. There is so much more to each one of us, and once we connect to that power that all of us have within, right, and start actually feeling that energy and understanding it and allowing it to flow freely rather than forcing it, right, this way everything starts actually opening up for us, and the opportunities. That's why, like, sometimes I always tell my clients that if you see somebody who is like so successful and you wonder like, these people are lucky, because everything comes to them so effortlessly. You know, they have the greatest relationships, they are healthy, they enjoy the lifestyle, they travel all over the world, they are not working that hard. Like, you know, they're just lucky. But there is no such a thing as luck, because if you understand how the energy works, if you put on the work, you actually become one of these people. So basically, each one of us could be the most successful, the most happiest person, the most fulfilling person to live from heart rather than from our minds, because this is something that we train with this kind of practices that we are all doing, right? So this is not something we were taught in schools, and that's why we were talking about we raised with certain culture, we raised with the limited beliefs, whatever our parents put on us, right? And it's time to reprogram our mind and to see beyond what is physically seen with our eyes, when we understand that once we tap into that feeling, right? Because a lot of times when you talk to people and people are saying, oh, I think, right? When you ask any question, everybody's like, I think. Nobody says, I feel. So the idea is start thinking from the heart when you actually evolve your feelings and understand how you feel in certain moments and what exactly you are happy about, what excites you, and how you could actually shift your own energy, right? You're learning with this work how to actually, you know, even if you are not emotionally stable, how you can stabilize yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, there's so much to unpack there.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're taught really to disconnect from the feelings and think about things like, what's the solution? What, as a consumer, what can I buy that'll solve this problem? We don't recognize and acknowledge that, like, everything that I've talked about up until this point, there's not a commercial good that's going to support that. It all exists inside of us, right? Performing Reiki, there is no additional tool. It's all the energy that your body is able to absorb and channel into specific areas. Self Reiki is also something where you can, work on healing yourself or removing those emotional blockages, those energetic blockages as well. And with manifestation, it's the same thing, right? You can't just go and buy some special glasses that you put on and now you're going to be just as lucky as the other people that you're talking about and observing. It's through a shift in your consciousness and your mindset and the way that you're approaching things. And again, it's not something that you can physically go and buy, right? It's doing the work internally, trusting and believing in yourself that you can create the same results that those people that you're looking up to can as well. What we're sold though is from the commercial aspect, right? Like, oh, if you buy this thing or if you do X, Y, and Z, then you'll become that thing. Not, hey, take a moment, pause. What are you feeling? Connecting to yourself and trusting that as a human being, you have these same abilities and gifts within yourself. That's not something that is taught or promoted, because how do you monetize that, right? On a scalable level. Apple can't sell you Reiki abilities. They can't commercialize the ability to manifest the results you want in your life, right? So the things that you and I teach people about is really empowering them. How do I manifest the results that I want? How do I create the lifestyle that I want and the freedom that I want without having to buy a specific thing that'll get me there? Because then that takes away our own power.
So beautifully said. So, Jeff, what do you think is the biggest obstacle for people to actually be open to this work? Because obviously we are living in the physical world, right? So people are more, like you mentioned, they are prone to buy something that they can touch, they can feel, they can put on themselves, right? And when something that we are selling the service, we actually selling the result. And for people to see the value in that, obviously they have to have that sense of belief, right? The trust, because that's how this work is actually materializing. First, you have to believe before you receive. But we are so trained that, okay, show me first, and then I agree to do that, correct? So
Yeah.
tell please how people could actually harness that ability to believe in themselves and actually start working on themselves.
Mm. Yeah, the the biggest hurdle is ourself, right? So our ego will come into play to protect us emotionally, to say, hey, you didn't do anything wrong. You don't have to change anything. And then we stay in our comfort zone and not make that shift or take accountability to make the change that is required to get to that next level or achieve whatever we're trying to do. And so once you realize that and recognize that, what's supportive about working with a coach, whether it's through manifestation, whether it's through self-development, whatever area that you're wanting to put focus, what we do and what we specialize in is tailoring that to the specific individual, because it's not a one size fits all, right? The hurdles that I've had to overcome are different from the hurdles you've had to overcome. So the way and I guess the advice that is going to pertain to me would be different than it is to you. And that's what you and I are able to discern, where it's like, hey, what are you wanting to manifest, right? How do I support you with that? What are you doing how are you getting in your own way, right? That's your specialty, to be like, this is how you can manifest the life of your dreams. These are the things you're going to want to focus on. These are the areas that you're going to need to develop. For myself, with self-development, it's taking a look at, what are you avoiding, right? What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Let's become aware of what those are. Let's define them. Let's label them. And then take a look at how often you're putting time and energy into those areas. Are you spending all of your time in the comfort zone of what you're good at and thriving at already, which is good to some degree, but are you also ignoring and putting off the areas that are holding you back? Because that's what most people will do, right? We stick to our comfort zone and we're avoiding anything that makes us feel like we're not as good, right? So the things that we have less experience in, we're going to avoid doing. But how do we get more experience? You have to do the thing. And so by working with a coach that's going to understand you, take the time to listen and hear what you're going through, what you're experiencing, and then also be able to guide you on the path of getting to where you want to go.
That's beautifully said. And you know what comes for me also? People always look at their past results, right? If they have done something, they are more confident, like you said, staying in the comfort zone, because it's it's less pain. Their nervous system is not like shaken because they know what they are doing. There is no fear in that. And they're like, okay, let me look at my education. Let me look what I've done before. Let me look at my bank account before I decide for something, right, in life. But the way we approach, we say nothing is relevant. What is relevant for you to understand who you want to become? What is something that makes your heart sing? Do you want to be financially free? Do you feel like you want to travel the world? Do you feel you want to have the love and relationship? Do you want to get rid of that disease? Everything is possible. Yeah. But it's all the limitations that we were brought with. This is something that where our logic mind always argues with our heart, because the logic mind is going to say, listen, this is what the news say. This is what, like the doctors say. This is exactly how it is. This is what people around us saying. This is what my family is saying. And it's all about everybody's opinions, but people don't even know what they feel and think about their own, lives. And that's what it is. It's just like we are so piled up with everybody's opinions that we don't even know what's ours anymore.
Yeah. So I have a question for you as a manifestation coach. What's the energy that you want to have when you are manifesting? And what's a tip for the people listening that would support with that first step toward learning how to manifest?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you so much. First and foremost, people have to know what they want, right? And this is, sometimes it takes even one session to figure out what they truly want, because people actually know more what they do not want than what they truly desire, right? So sometimes it's like a reverse psychology. So sometimes I'm just asking, what are you sick of? What are you tired of? What don't you want to go through your life anymore, right? So first thing, to decide what exactly you want, to have that desire that's going to wake you up, because I always say the inner work is the most rigorous work. Yeah. But at the same token, it's the most rewarding work, because you could, have such quantum leaps that then you're going to look back on your life and you won't believe that that was your life before. So first is identifying what you want. What would you want to be? What would you want to create in your life? Then it's just like having that burning desire, something that's going to wake you up every morning, because there is a work to be done, right? There are tools that we give people, there are different practices that they have to do, and obviously to have the faith and belief, because like I said, we are going to be doing it, and we are persistent, we are consistent, and it's easy to sidetrack when you're going to do it on your own. That's why a lot of times people put these New Year's resolutions, and in a few months nothing is changing, right? Because it's very difficult to keep pushing yourself, to keep yourself accountable for, and especially when you face with the fear or failure, that's it, you just want to quit, because that's how we are all wired. That's why it's so important to have that structure of support, and to have that accountability partner, somebody who is going to be, supporting you, rooting for you, and saying, I believe in you, I know you can do it. Because if it's possible for one, it's possible for everyone. And it's all just about reprogramming our minds.
Yeah, what you said about defining what we actually want, and most people are more aware of what they don't want. The energy that comes with that is so interesting, right? Because I think most of us will operate from, again, that fear, right? Like, I'm going to run away from the things that I don't want, but I'm still not moving in the direction of what I do want. I'm just avoiding, right? So that's super interesting to kind of lock in on and look at the energy that we bring to the conversation when we're moving towards what we do want versus running away from what we don't want.
Right. And I think also what comes to me is to be brave, to speak up your mind, which majority of people, 99% of people, they would never be honest with what's on their mind, because it's all about, people pleasing, make sure you don't hurt anybody, make sure that everything looks nice and beautiful, in the package. But when it comes to their inner state, it's like very disturbing. People in the relationships are not expressing themselves, they're not telling the truth, how they feel. They don't have the sweaty conversations, because someone can blow up, right? And nobody wants to deal with that. So I think it's besides this work that we are doing, it's besides just having what you want. Everything starts from like balancing yourself first, right? You have to be in balance in your emotions, in your mind state, understanding that, life is happening through you and for you, not through you. And obviously, any situations that we are coming through, we created themselves. Like we don't even realize it. It's all on the, like subconscious level. And we have to learn with everything what we go through in life. There is like a learning curve, right? And the learning experience. So these life lessons continue presenting themselves, maybe with different people, with different scenarios, but it's like a vicious cycle until we learn, and then we grow, and then we graduated from one grade to another. So that's how we actually moving and growing and evolving. So it's so important to learn how to express yourself, to stay true to yourself, because I think the best feeling, what I found for myself, is when I started to speak up. Like, I always spoke up, but I wasn't as always direct. And now it's more and more. And obviously, you can tell the same sentence, but you learn how to have to express yourself, so you're not gonna hurt another person. But at the same token, you just express how you feel in any given situation. And I think this is something that our society wasn't trained to do. And people, in the relationships, in the family affairs, at work, everywhere around, people are not who acting from who they are. They are constantly covering themselves. And sometimes you could have like, I remember I ran into the article, it's like having the masks, right? You could have like multiple masks, because you have one mask when you go to do business, You have another mask when you're with your loved one. You have the third mask when you go, outside to any party, right? So the idea is to actually be who you are, to know who you are, who authentic self you are, and express yourself to the fullest without any fear of being judged or any fear to be misunderstood. It's just like we are training ourselves to be emotionally balanced so we can talk about anything and we can actually put it on the table as is and allow other people to understand our point of view without getting upset or aggressive or any other kind of negative emotions. So I think this is a lot of inner work that we are doing, because with this work, it's like we are upgrading ourselves, right? We have a different identity. We up leveling our self image, and we become that person of increase, because once we work on ourselves, then we give inspiration to others, because everything is fixable.
Hmm. Absolutely. No, that was well said.
Any final thoughts, any tips for the listeners that you would love to share, Jeff?
Ooh. Where the mind goes, energy flows. So be conscious of what you're thinking about and shift that into something positive. Come from love.
I love it. Yes, it's all about love, because like I said, we have the most strongest two emotions are love and fear. And a lot of people are acting from fear. They're afraid to do something because they're afraid to be judged. They are afraid to be misunderstood, or they're afraid to be rejected. Don't be afraid of anything. Come from love and face the fear and just step forward and do what is best for you. And that's exactly how we grow, how we evolve, and how we become completely different person with a different life.
Yeah.
All right, lots of love. That was a great time together.
Thank
If
you
you
so
want
much,
to
Maria.
contact Jeff, I put the links for him, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Take care.